Hey everyone, my name is Penny Zanker, and it's time to reset. This podcast goes beyond just navigating change. It's about new ways of thinking about how you can approach challenges, how you can shift your mindset when needed, create some space and grace for yourself so that you can rethink, recharge, and reprioritize when and where needed. Are you ready to unlock your full potential? Thank you for hitting play and sharing this next episode with me. It's time to reset. Hello and welcome to Take Back Time. My name is Penny Zanker and I'm your host. And I'm always looking for whose brain we can pick for you as an audience that's going to enrich your life, that's going to enrich your business. And today, definitely, that's going to be the Kerry Siggins is with us, and she is phenomenal. She has a new book out that is called Ownership Mindset. We're going to talk a little bit about that. So a little bit about Kerry is she is the CEO and executive chair of Stone Age Holdings, a fast-growing manufacturing and technology company that's based in Colorado. And under her leadership, Stone Age has experienced double-digit growth year after year. She's a superstar. In 2015, she successfully transitioned the company's ownership structure to an ESOP, and she'll tell us a little bit what that is. So that's, I believe it's when the employees own the company. So that's incredible. There's not that many of those companies out there. So we're definitely going to talk about that. And she's also a very helpful and impactful board member and business advisor due to her success and experience in scaling companies and building world-class cultures around the world. So Kerry, without further ado, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here with you today.
So tell me, you're a busy executive. You're still running your company and you decided to write a book. Like, where did you find the time and what made you want to do that?
I've always been a writer, and writing a book has been on my bucket list for a very long time. And I've been writing for magazines, for publications, to how to blog since really about 2015. And when the pandemic hit, I thought, this is the time to write the book. I'm not traveling like I used to, so let's just get it done. And so that's where
by a true CEO, let's get it done.
Exactly. But I knew I had this story in me of a unique path to becoming a CEO that involves recovering from substance abuse issues and becoming a CEO at the age of 30 when I really had no business probably being a CEO. And then we have this amazing employee-owned company with this culture that attracts and retains brilliant talent who are so engaged and will go the extra mile, who come into work for more than just a paycheck because they're owners of the company. And so I wanted to share that story of how we've built this really remarkable company and how I learned how to do it by leading myself and leading others.
That's fantastic. So do you feel that the root of this topic, this ownership mindset, is the root of that, the struggles that you had from Definitely. What I understand from coming from where you came to where you are now?
Like accountability, it's weird. I had like some periods of life where I was really accountable and some periods where I wasn't. And I don't think that that's atypical. My mom definitely taught me a lot about accountability when I was younger. But I think that after I graduated from high school and left and went to college, just kind of got out of that daily reminder that you're responsible for everything that happens in your life. I fell into a victim mentality, and it certainly did not benefit me, especially dealing with mental health issues and lack of self-esteem and body image issues and all of these things. When you add a victim mentality on top of it, it can be pretty toxic. It can be dark. And
it holds you down, right? It holds you down.
Absolutely.
It limits you from getting out of where you are when you're in that place. So how did you recognize that you were there? Because that's the hardest part, is recognizing that you were making yourself the victim.
Yeah. It was a combination of things, and it was a journey. It all came to a head on Labor Day of 2006, where I accidentally overdosed and I almost died. And that was when I was the inflection point of saying, okay, enough is enough. I know that I have more potential than the way that I'm living my life, and I need to go figure this out. So that was the point where I knew I had to do something different. The ownership mindset piece of it came over time, but I'll never forget that it was probably 3 days after my overdose when I was calling my mom to talk to her about coming home. And she said, "You are just this natural born leader. You always have been. And you talk about how you want to lead other people. I was lamenting a lot about how miserable I was at work. She said, you have to learn how to lead yourself well before you can lead other people well. And that was that was the first time I was introduced to this idea of self-leadership. And I was really curious about that. So as soon as I got home and started to heal and recover, I decided that's it. I'm going to figure out why I make the decisions I make and really start to deal with this so I can change my life. And it was like a 2-year period of me figuring out how to get out of victim mentality that I had kind of dug myself into over those college years, those early 20 years.
So was there like a core strategy for people who are listening and might think, is that me? Like, is there one thing that you fell back on that made all the difference for you? And of course, everybody's different. It might not be that thing for other people, but I'm just curious what it might have been for you.
Yes. For me, it was when I heard myself, it's this way because of somebody else, because of time, because of the situation. And so I trained myself to listen to those victim statements. And I say this a lot in my keynotes and in the book. The opposite of responsibility, which is the foundation of the ownership mindset, isn't irresponsibility, it's blame. And we can blame so many things, so many people, so many situations. And so that's what I trained myself to hear is when I was like, yeah, but it wasn't me taking ownership. That's when I knew I was like, okay, I got to stop doing that. I've got to stop doing that. And then I created accountability, a partner. My mom really helped me. I had a really close friend who was helping me through this, who would say, is this really the path that you want to go down with, blaming, or are you going to take responsibility for this? And so that helped having people hold me accountable. Yeah, definitely. That's it. I was listening. As soon as I heard it's this way because of somebody else, that was my trigger to say, nope, it's this way because of the decisions I made to get myself in this place. And it wasn't to minimize childhood trauma or things that happen, right? Bad things happen to people, but you're still responsible for how you react, how you respond, how you show up in it. And I had given my power away in those moments by succumbing to, well, it's this way because. And so I had to really work on switching that mindset. And I just listened for those victim phrases.
Right. Not only give your power away in that moment, but going forward, right? So it follows you and leaves you definitely limited. I love that because I'm also somebody who, I don't know where it came from. I think also from some of the challenges that I've had in my life to keep myself from falling into victim mode is to be listening and also listening to what other people are saying. Like the energy, I'm a big fan of the energy of words, right? And listening, does that word create energy? And is it positive or is it limiting and negative? And how do you work with that? Whether it's your own word, how do you reframe it? And if it's someone else's word, right, how do you reframe their words so that you can reduce the intensity or help support in whatever way? So those are really, really important. So for everybody who's listening, it doesn't matter what level you are, how old you are, what you're dealing with, your language matters. And it's an insight to where your mindset really is, right?
Yep, absolutely. I love that you just said that. One of the things that people ask me, especially my employees, are, how do you deliver tough feedback in a way that actually sometimes it's like, oh, that feels good. Like that was a great conversation. And it really is using positive language. And so you can say the same exact thing negatively, like you need to stop doing that. And you could reframe it into, hey, it would be better if you did more of this. And so I agree with you 100%. How you frame your language and reframing it into using positive words instead of negative words, it changes everything. It changes your own mindset. It changes the conversation that you're having with people, the energy, the aura that's in the air, so to speak, because people are looking for those negative words and they tend to take them personally. And so
they get defensive with it, right?
Yeah,
it creates
absolutely.
like an automatic, like shields, like hitting the Batman shields. And then the conversation ends, right? Then there's really not a conversation because they've shut down. Or if you're in that place, maybe you shut down and you're not listening. So definitely so important.
I agree.
So let's fast forward to now. I want to hear a little bit about, and I want the people to hear, because engagement, and we talked about language and delivering. That's great that we were able to put that in there as well. And just to understand what made you want to make this company an ESOP so that everybody was an owner. And then maybe we can talk a little bit about ownership mentality and how that creates more engagement and how you bring that out in the organization.
So when I joined Stone Age back in 2007, we were already employee owned, but it wasn't an ESOP. It was a skin in the game program where employees had the opportunity to invest in the company, buy stock in the company. And it was really successful. In fact, employees had bought about 40% of it by the time we decided to do an ESOP. But it was just dilutionary. The founders weren't selling their own shares. They were selling new shares, and they were approaching their mid 60s. And I said, look, we have to figure out a true succession model for the two of you. Who's going to own this company if something happens to the two of you? When something happens to the two, the machinist who's been buying shares in the company for the last 20 years, like he doesn't want to be the owner. He loves the investment that he's made and the sense of ownership that he has, but he doesn't want that responsibility. So we talked through several different options, like selling out to private equity or to a strategic buyer or competitor. That was not the legacy that they wanted to leave behind. We'd proven that employee ownership was successful for us. And so really the only model that made sense for us that allowed all employees to participate was an ESOP. So an ESOP is an employee stock ownership plan. It is a program that is very structured, managed by the Department of Labor and ERISA, which is the organization that manages federal government that manages all of our retirement benefits. And so we decided that that was going to be the best path for us so that everybody could participate in ownership. And so we began that transition in 2015 and we finished it in 2022. So we're now 100% ESOP owned and enjoying the benefits and the challenges of, any kind of transition like that come with the territory.
Well, sure. So I didn't realize it would be such a long process.
We decided to do it over time. It doesn't have to be. Okay. So we did because we had all of these employee shareholders who had stock in the company and they wanted to continue to see the return on that investment. And we didn't want it to be unfair to them with the new ESOP. So we said, we're going to, over an 8-year period, 8 years, we're going to stop with distributions and we were going to no longer pay distributions. We stopped allowing employees to buy stock in the company when we did the ESOP. And so the founders wanted to still stay owners as well. And so it was a transition that we did on purpose. Many companies will just say, we're just doing 100% and going for it. We did ours over time, which was great in many ways and presented more complexities in many ways. The nice thing that people don't necessarily know about with ESOPs is that there's lots of different ways for founders to extract value from the company if they're not really ready to leave, but they can start this process and it doesn't have to just be, all or nothing. And so we kind of went the slow transition route.
Right. Mm-hmm. So I'm interested, you used in the beginning accountability, that sometimes went in waves in your life about being more accountable, less accountable. And we were talking about ownership. I actually talk a lot about those two. And again, with the energy of words, that I usually say, and I'm interested in how you position this in the book and how you lead, is that accountability is a byproduct of ownership. That when we focus on ownership as leaders versus accountability, we're going to get all the benefits, but we're going to get so much more because there's that true buy-in. I'm vested in what I'm doing because I'm owning it. What's your philosophy? I didn't get a chance to read all the way through your book. So give us a little bit of an insight into that difference for you between accountability and ownership.
Yeah, I agree with you completely. I look at ownership is, like I said earlier, it's about personal responsibility. And personal responsibility is a commitment that you make to yourself and to others, but it's forward looking. Like, I am going to be responsible for these things. I am going to do what I say I'm going to do. I'm going to show up with a positive attitude. I'm going to own my mistakes. I'm going to take responsibility. Accountability is something that typically happens in the past, right? Okay, so this went wrong. Now, who's going to be accountable for it? So I agree with you. I think that accountability starts with responsibility, with this idea of I own everything that happens in my life, my career, my relationships. And then accountability is like, okay, something goes wrong or something's going right? It's because you're holding yourself accountable to those commitments that you make to yourself and to others. I really look at it as that this idea of ownership thinking and responsibility is forward facing. It's that commitment that you're making. And then accountability is where the rubber meets the road. Did you keep your commitments? And are you holding yourself accountable? Other people holding you accountable? And are you holding people accountable to the commitments and the responsibilities that they've made? So that's how I kind of look at it and frame it in the book.
Okay. Yeah, I like that. So how have you seen this ownership mindset show up positively in your team, right? And as you're building this business, and, that's an incredible feat to grow your business, double it year after year after year, right? So I think this is probably the secret sauce. So what are you doing to help people and support people maintain that level of ownership, especially when it gets hard, right? There's got to be pressures and stakes and, hey, we're going to double again. And people are like, oh, not again.
Well, luckily it's double digit growth, not doubling every year. Cause I think I would probably lose my mind too. But yeah, it's hard, right? Growth is always hard because it requires change. And so we have to really help our employees with that. But the benefits that we've seen from this ownership mentality that we have cultivated at Stone Age are very tangible. We have insane customer loyalty. We have customers who've been buying product for us for 40 years. We have customers who say, I would never buy any other product besides what we get at Stone Age. And we make industrial cleaning equipment, high pressure water jetting equipment that is used to clean refineries, petrochem plants, food processing plants, really dirty places. So very dangerous industry, very niche industry, very important industry. And we've been doing this for a really long time. And our innovation, our customer service, the way that we solve problems, just the way that the vibe of our company, people love working with us. And that's because people care more. When you care about your employees, they are going to care more about your customers. So customer loyalty is a big one. And attraction and retention. The ESOP really does pull people in because it gives them a chance to own the company, especially in a lot of like blue collar jobs where people wouldn't expect to be able to own the company, that have owned shares in the company that they work with. But also from a retention perspective, I think our turnover this year is 3.5%. I mean, just significantly below anything that's going on in any other industries. And it's because we've created this really great culture. Supplier preference. My whole purchasing team, they treat our suppliers as partners. And so while there's still pressure of, yes, we have to watch costs and take cost cutting measures, we partner with our suppliers. We bring them in. We talk about our strategy and how we're going to grow and how they're going to grow with us. And so we have preference. Like when the pandemic hit and the supply chain blew up, we had one of our air motor suppliers say, hey, I set aside 50 of these air motors for you because I know you're going to need them. And I want to make sure that you have them. And we're not their largest customer, but we work with our suppliers so closely that they were looking out for us. So those are really tangible things, benefits.
So how much of that is from this essence, and I don't mean ownership of the company, but the personal ownership? Like, let me state that differently. How do you as a leader, how do you treat your people so that they have more ownership, right? Trust is a huge issue in a lot of organizations, and a lot of people are leaving and aren't happy there because they don't feel trusted, right? Or this control or be controlled type of environment. So I'm just curious, like, do you forego reports, or what kind of things do you do that help to make people feel trusted and also buy in and are living at that level aside from the ownership of the company?
Yeah, absolutely. Lots of ESOP companies don't have great cultures. They don't have employees who own it, even though they own the company.
Okay.
And so it does take very specific curation of the culture. And I think because we have the ESOP, it reinforces the benefits of buying into our culture, of owning it. But you have to teach people how to think and act like owners. And so our success is 100% based on people's mindsets and the way that they show up. So what we've done is we've created the Own It mindset, which is our value system. It's a set of behaviors and attributes that will make you successful within the company and really help our employees understand what it means to be successful at Stone Age. And then we teach our managers how to manage within the Own It mindset. And trust is the foundation for everything, building relationships. You have to teach people that they can actually own their own decision-making, own their work, you have to give them autonomy. You have to give them guidance. You have to give them feedback. You have to say, let's try that. Let's see it. If it doesn't work, we'll figure it out. So I have to make it safe to fail. And so we really train our managers in those areas. So
do you have a course for that? Is that a formalized course?
Yeah, it's like a formalized program that we have that teaches people how to give feedback, teaches people how to give good performance reviews. We have employee-driven performance reviews 4 times a year. But how do you really lean into making sure that everybody knows where they stand within the organization? How do you build trust and relationships with people? How do you build relationships with people who you don't necessarily click with? Yeah. That's a really important thing as a leader. Yeah. You don't have to say everybody on my team, I love working with them, but you still have to get the best out of them.
And you can still respect people that you don't like.
Exactly.
Right? So, you can look for those things that you respect. In that context, I want to respect your time. We have, we're coming to the end of our time together. So I want to make sure we can always have you on again. This is a great topic. I think that you have so many nuggets of leadership to share that I'm excited to maybe pull apart. So maybe we can do part 2 at another time.
Anytime. Would love to.
I know your book just came out, so people are going to say, I want that book, and we'll have it in the show notes, but tell them where they can find it and anything else that you want to share with us before we sign off today.
Absolutely. So the book is called The Ownership Mindset, a handbook for transforming your life and leadership. It really is a handbook. So lots of actionable takeaways. You can find it on Amazon or Barnes and Noble. Just go to those websites and you can order it. You can go to my personal website and learn all about the culture that we're creating here. And more about the book is on my website, which is kerrysiggins.com. And if you want to connect with me, LinkedIn is the best place. I'm all over LinkedIn. So you can reach out to me there if you have any questions or want to touch base or reach out or talk culture and ESOPs or any of that fun stuff or owning it.
Out on all that leadership stuff. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me. It's been lovely to see you again.
Yeah, likewise. And thank you all for being here. We can't see you, but we know you're there. And I know that you took a lot away from today's talk and just thinking about what's next. Definitely go out and get Kerry's book. I'm sure that there's a ton of nuggets in there. I'm excited to get reading it myself. So that's today's show. Own it. Own your ownership mindset. That's one of the most important things that you can leave here is that you don't fall into victim mode. Make sure that you develop your ownership mindset and own it. My name is Penny Zenker, and this is Take Back Time. We'll see you in the next episode. Hey, thank you for spending this time with me. It really means a lot. If you're feeling a little off, distracted, overwhelmed, stuck, or just out of sync, remember that's your signal to reset. And that's all it takes, just recognizing one reset moment at a time. So stay tuned for more tips, tools, tricks, stories, strategies, all here on Time to Reset. We'll see you in the next episode.